So Stephen, has very graciously agreed to talk to us both about sort of Disability Snow Sports UK and about disabled snow sports in particular. It's going to be a good opportunity for us to get a little bit more up to speed in the kind of disabilities we're likely to see in our regular lessons, as well as get a bit more of an inside scoop about what DSUK is about and what it does. Stephen, like I say, I've enabled screen sharing, but feel free to give us a shout if I can help in any way. The floor is yours.
Yeah, that's fine. Hi guys, my name's Stephen Smaje. Work for my role currently in DSUK is as technical director. Actually worked in snow sports for DSUK for the last 10 years. Adaptive snow sports is something I really got into as a second discipline. It was something I was never going to do because it looked too much like hard work, and it is, but it isn't too much like hard work. It's really thoroughly enjoyable. I got into it when I was working seasons in Austria as a way to not give me any downtime when there was no regular lessons. I ended up working more or less 7 days every week, which is always good when seasons are quite short, 3-4 months. So that's how I got in. Then ended up in the UK and got offered a role running Manchester Ski School for DSUK based at Chill Factor. From then on, I've done other things within the charity. Current is technical director. That's about me. So if we pull up the presentation, James.
Did you want me to share it?
Yeah, you can do.
Okay.
Save me making any technical faux pas. Right.
There we go. Yeah.
We got it? No.
Yeah. Is that not showing up on your end?
No.
Okay. That should be it now. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Cool.
So, as it says, David Morris was a consultant paediatrician. He worked for the Spastic Society, and that was renamed Scope, as most people probably know. But he was convinced that skiing would benefit people, and especially the movements and cognitive function, to develop more neural pathways. And so then it moved on to that was in the 70s, and DSUK was formed in the 80s, but it was known as the Uphill Ski Club then, mainly because it was around that time others started popping up, other groups, but in the noughties, DSUK merged, the Uphill Ski Club merged with them all and changed its name to Disability Snow Sports UK, DSUK. As we know, started off doing lessons on Cairngorm Mountain and a bit on the dry slope, and then with the emergence of the dry slopes around the country, started delivering lessons on the dry slopes, and it now delivers over 4,000 hours of lessons a year out of our ski schools. We're in the indoor slopes, 4 of the indoor slopes in the UK. That's Hemel, Tamworth, Manchester and Braehead, and 2 artificial, Sandown and Hill End. We are looking at more artificial slopes as time goes on, because we see with what's happened over the last 12 months. People are going to have probably less money in the pocket, so opening our facilities onto more artificial slopes will really help or benefit people that are struggling financially. And not forgetting the Scottish Mountains. So yeah, Glencoe, we're hoping to this coming winter now, get going and properly. We have equipment that we have in store for Glencoe, and we'll be on Nevis range and at Cairngorm again. We also do snow sports holidays abroad. A lot of our clients that come to our lessons and into the ski schools, we run about 8 weeks of foreign trips a year. So we've done Italy, Austria, and Andorra. We work a lot in Andorra. We can see ourselves working more in Andorra rather than probably Austria till the Brexit situation is sorted out with Basie and all that. We don't know where that's going, so we foresee next winter we'll be in Andorra. Easy place to work with. We've got a good relationship with the ski school there, which really helps. And we're probably looking at Switzerland because we've got a few places in Switzerland that we've got links with. So as a charity, we rely heavily on fundraising. So lots of different events we've done. Recently done the race Challenge to the Top, which was like quite a few of the mountain peaks, so Everest, Ben Nevis, and a few other high mountains, and it was measured on vertical ascent. Currently, I think we've got about £4,500 in for that, which is not a bad sum for us as a charity. But obviously, like every other charity, it's been difficult this last 12 months, not mentioning the C word at all. So, there's the Kilt Walk, London Marathon. We do have places available for that. If anybody's interested, just email in our office and it'll get passed on to the relevant place. If you feel
What's
like
the Kilt
running
Walk?
a marathon.
What's the Kilt Walk?
It's walk across Scotland, doing X number of miles on different stages, and people are wearing kilts.
Got you. Brilliant.
So all the details about these are also on our website and in our newsletters and everything. There's some that takes you fancy, do it. And also people do individual stuff as well, decide to do a charity event and nominate us as their chosen charity, which is also good. Any you think of doing things like that, just contact our office and Cheska will speak to you and give you the relevant information. And we have a web shop selling merchandise, hoodies, hats, that type of thing. We've had mugs on there, buffs, or snoots as the better known as, and they all generate a small revenue for us, really, to help keep the charity going. Do you want to flick on to the next one? Can't remember what the next one is though. Yeah.
Values.
So we do have a set of values, and we welcome everybody, and that's everybody can expect a very warm welcome from us. We celebrate the difference. As a charity, we believe that anybody can partake in snow sports, regardless of who they are. Listening, we celebrate, we recognise that people are the experts of themselves, and we listen and try and meet their needs. Staying positive, we do stay positive, challenging and supportive. We challenge and support and believe in the person's full potential, which we'll do all the time. Being honest, we will be honest with the person and share honest opinions, regardless of how difficult on those occasions. Learning, we learn from our experiences. We may not always achieve to get it right, but we believe that failure, we can improve on failure every time. you want to move on, please, James? And this is what one of our clients has a lot more comments, but yeah, I just put one of them. When I became disabled, my whole world changed. I needed something that would make me feel alive again. Something that would make me feel the blood pumping around my body and give me the thrill that I need in my life. And that was a thank you from one of our skiers, Claire. We've got more of those on our website. Okay, James. Disabilities. So, yeah, next one. So we work any cognitive disability. We work a lot with autistic guys and guys that have suffered traumatic brain injuries and learning difficulties as well. Find a lot of learning difficulty people will probably turn up in regular lessons, which I've found in the past, and come along. They won't always tell you, because sometimes parents don't like to actually say, but it's a case of recognising and then trying to tell your lesson to that individual, because as you all know, you're probably all instructors. If we have a group lesson, it's still, if there's 10 in your group, it's 10 individual lessons, because every person is totally different. If you know, even if I take regular alpine lessons, I'll ask, has anybody got anything to tell me, anything that they need to share with me prior to the lesson? They can come and tell me in confidence, and it really helps. Because you don't know, once somebody's got the helmet on and everything and goggles, you just don't necessarily know. So that's one of the questions that I get out. Physical, there's numerous physical disabilities, MND, which is muscular dystrophy, cerebral palsy, all the amputees that we get from the forces and that. There's a lot out there. DSUK, we've got a lot of equipment that can accommodate anybody to get on the mountain, regardless. We had a young girl who had meningitis and lost 3 limbs, but she was a stubborn character and determined to ski. Skied in a sit ski with a handheld rigger, one, and a fixed rigger on the other side, and would, rip it down the hill. The faster she went, the better she liked it, and she'd faced enormous challenge from a young girl, having that a lot taken away from her, but she was determined and stubborn. But there's, anything that's out there, anything that you care to mention, we'll work with. The biggest one in physical is weight limit. Lifting people on and off chairlifts is quite an onerous and heavy business. Some of the sit skis won't lift high enough for a chairlift. Some are manual lifts, some are semi-automatic with a release pull and like air struts like on your tailgate of your car that will jack it up in a position that we can get on the chairlift. But some of the other stuff is just physically lift it up with 2 people either side. So we do have a weight limit. Equipment has a weight limit. We generally put 16 stone on the weight limit. The sit ski weighs approximately 3 stone. So doing a few of those in a day on and off chairlifts is, you're burning a few calories. Do you want to move on to the next one? So questions, it's over to you guys. Stop sharing if you want, James.
There we go. Feel free to unmute everybody.
So
just clicking that there.
Fire away if you've any questions. If I've rushed through a bit quick,
so is there any?
I'm happy to repeat anything.
I'm going to throw some ideas and some questions your way. I don't know if anyone knows the definitive answer to this or not. But would I be right in thinking that generally speaking, there are probably more people than we think that have some kind of disability who are doing snow sports, as you know, other than the current situation we're all dealing with where snow sports facilities are primarily closed. Outside of that scenario, you know, regularly speaking, people with both cognitive and physical disabilities are coming on up to lessons.
Don't know an accurate number on that, but there is a heck of a lot of participants in snow sports. On the hill, you know, if somebody's got a cognitive issue, you wouldn't know that they have a disability. So there's no different than you or I. There's just something different firing in the head. Certainly with the autistic guys, you know, they can do anything. I taught a guy to do features as well. He was doing boxes, rails, and everything. That was a long process, but he was able to do it and achieve it. So, and then you get regular skiers going up to the guys asking them, "Hey, show me how to do that," and that's when people notice there's something different when they don't get a response or an answer, or you know, not a silly face, but a face of puzzlement and bewilderment of not knowing how to answer somebody. Because we work with non-verbal autistic guys as well, really severe, but they've still managed to achieve.
Certainly.
So accurate figure, couldn't tell you. But I'm going to look into that one to see if there's anything accurate out there. Really,
I'm pretty sure for myself personally, all you know, the whole almost every single kind of disability I can think of, other than ones that require specialist training like DSUK courses, I've seen in my lessons. I taught a guy at the Glasgow Snowdome. I don't know if he made it up or not, but he said that he was blown up when he worked for the military, and you know, a lot of his joints didn't work the way he wanted them to. Another guy, he was an airplane pilot, and he'd fallen down the stairs getting off the plane, and his body, you know, didn't work the same as a result. I've taught a child with Down syndrome who spoke Spanish as his primary language, which I don't speak Spanish. You know, that was a challenging session to get. When I worked at the Glasgow Snowdome, I had a group lesson, and I think it was somebody who was deaf came last minute. You know, the lesson had already started 10 minutes ago, and I'm like, okay, right, let's see what I can. I'll do my best. You know, I'll figure this one out as I go. So certainly, you know, anecdotally, and I'm sure you guys on the session similarly, all sorts of people have come to sessions, and actually for me personally, I'm asthmatic. I don't think it counts enough to be a disability, but snow sports for me, it's not a lot of heavy breathing, which really sets off my asthma. So it was a great sport for me to do compared to something like running, where I need to take my inhaler like 15 times, or I'm like just crawling behind everyone else. So, you know, I found snow sports really welcoming from a sort of physical point of view. It's like, wow, we'll make it work, you know?
I think that, you know, the benefits that we see from our clients, we're quite lucky in what we do, because alpine snow sports tends to be, you see your clients and they go away, they get to a level and they fledge the nest, so to speak. But with people that need regular support, it's great. It's, you know, it's like working with athletes. You see them all the time. You see the progression. You see from what they've come in to what their end product is. You know, we've had guys from backgrounds that would have never thought about skiing. They've had an accident. The physios said that, hey, you've got to go and do snow sports. Give it a go. Well, snow sports, other sports as well, do give the same benefit, but they've gone, we'll try this. And they probably lasted 10 minutes, but kept coming week on week. It's finally built up to an hour. Then they realised that, hey, I can do this, and you know, the brain's not working. You know, I might have and they do have paralysis in parts of the body, and the physical effort for them to last 10 minutes, it's unbelievable. But when you see them come out at the other end after weeks and weeks of giving our sessions, it's really heartwarming to see that they're on the slope like us, enjoying it. No different. They've just had a more difficult journey to get to the snow sports. So I'll probably lead it on to adaptive instruction. So different governing bodies have qualifications. So BASIC qualifies people in adaptive snow sports. It starts off at adaptive level 1, and that's a 1-week course, primarily doing a couple of disabilities, learning difficulties, and biski currently at the moment as we speak. Level 2 covers all disabilities, so that's monoski, 3 tracking, which is if you're a leg amputee and you've got stand-up riggers, which look like crutches basically with a little ski on the bottom, and visual impairment, and monoski. So level 2 is 2-week course in the mountains. Level 1 is primarily done indoors at the moment because it's the cheapest option that people take. Because we're working with Glencoe Mountain, obviously DSUK will give training to the staff working together. So it helps any of the staff, whether that's the lifters, the cafe staff, of how to deal with people, because it can be quite a difficult situation when you find yourself in what do I do? What do I say? And I'm just me with them. Once they get to know me, they're taking the rip out of me, and I'm taking the rip out of them. And but it's opening that conversation. I always address the person, not necessarily the people that they've turned up with, whether they can communicate, speak or not. I'll always address the client because they're my client, and I'll let the carers and support workers to fill in the missing gaps. Really. Any of you got adaptive qualifications or got an interest in adaptive through friends, family, having something that's gone on in their lives?
I've got my PSIA adaptive level 1. It's just purely cognitive.
Yeah.
When
did you do? Did you do that out in the States?
Yeah, I did that in the States. Yeah, but it was just, like I say, purely cognitive. And level 2, when I did a biski and a mono, but it was all on snowboard, tethering as well.
On your snowboard?
On the snowboard, yeah. That was tethering a snowboard from a snowboard is probably one of the most horrific experiences I've ever had.
I've tried it. It is terrifying.
Being tethered by someone else.
Yeah.
While you they're practicing with you, because when I did my course there was only 2 snowboarders and 5 skiers. To say it was pretty ski centric is an understatement. It wasn't until later on, the guy who examined me was a snowboarder, and he was actually an amputee, a guy called Brett Cummerly. You might know him, James. I've heard of him. The guy snowboards with a golf shoe on.
I think I might have seen him walking about.
Where did you work out of, Greg?
That was working out in North Star,
right?
Tahoe, but the exam was down in Heavenly. They've got a really good adaptive program running out Heavenly. North Star didn't support it, and the most local organisation was called Chief Tahoe, who ran out of Alpine next to Squaw, and they're the great outfit. I just never had the time to get involved with them. It was purely voluntarily. I couldn't work for any other organisation because of the visa. But what I wanted to go from a level 2, and this was the question I was going to ask you next, Steve, was the training course, are they primarily aimed towards the alpine side, or is it by discipline? I found that trying to get people to train us from a snowboard perspective was really difficult until the year before I left, and then we had 2 national team members come over and I couldn't use them.
Right. So basically now do adaptive snowboard courses. It started off the basic adaptive level 1 snowboard course probably about around about 7 years ago now, and they did go down the route of, like you said, very horrific of tethering and trying to bucket a bicycle, and then realised that, hey, perhaps we can do something different with snowboarders, and so now snowboarders are doing VI and learning diff, which is much more suited to that, really, for both parties, I would say. There's no reason why you can do mono really from a snowboard, but it's just when you've got to push them, and they usually stall on the flats, so that would be a bit horrendous. It's quite easier with skis scooting somebody along, but it'd be a heck of an effort on a board. But yeah, basically I'm doing that, and then if you're interested in doing that, yeah, just drop Basie an email, and sometimes there's course conversions as well. They recognise other qualifications, so it's always worth popping them a line.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, basically the snowboard course is much better now, because there are a couple of snowboard trainers one of them is in Andorra, but they still come and do courses in the indoor centres, which is good. Cameron, you had your hand up, mate.
Yeah, I was interested to ask a question of everybody. I not in skiing from on reference, but I had a young lad at a local youth club who suffered from ADHD, and his parents did not tell us, despite all the form filling and all the rest of it, and the questions and the discussions. The parents were very reluctant to say that the lad had this problem. It left myself and the staff with the inkling that something wasn't quite right, and we had to progress in a certain given way for him particularly, and trying to keep him focused was a difficulty within the youth activities. And I was wondering if anybody had the same experience as a ski instructor, and how they approached it, especially when some of these generally young people that I come across that way on have that limited sort of focus, whereas you might need that little bit extra focus to get over the cusp of learning a new technique. They tend to sort of want to leap from the nearest black run before they can even put their skis on, which is terrifying to start with. I was just wondering if anybody had similar experiences.
I've had it in Alpine, but with having an adaptive background, it's probably easier to have those conversations and recognise it and deal with that. But I do know we do support all the centres that we're in, and in the regular lessons, exactly like you're saying, people will turn up, and and it's great that they want to do that, and they want to be involved in the regular stuff. But then it does, as you rightly say, puts the onus on yourselves to deliver that. Within the centres, we've supported them when that's happened, gone out, then gone out and had a sit down and a talk with the parents and say they'd be better going down this route, or give them options to say, and then we'll include them back in the lesson, because at the moment it's a problem or whatever. It's hard to have the difficult conversations, but we do put our values about being honest within our charity and ask that. It's how you ask that question. I always take the people, if if I've picked any up in regular alpine, and sit down with them saying, we had this little issue, and I think he needs to repeat this session again, or whatever. Is there anything I need to know, or is there anything you can help me with that I could help to deliver my lesson, because I feel as though I've missed something. And then I find that sort of helps people to feel the confidence, because they know that you know something, and then they do tell you, but they don't always tell you. It is a very difficult one.
Yeah, the thing that really upset me more was I think it was more the parents' denial to understand that there was it was a young lad did have a difficulty, and failing to communicate that made it a little bit harder for, because we had to formulate something specifically for him, and it made it a little bit time consuming and longer for him. Whereas if we'd known in advance, we'd have been able to prepare for the lad and be able to help in a more immediate sense, rather than having to figure out exactly what was wrong. You know, obviously we understood there was something not quite right, but we got there in the end under our own steam. But I just wish that the parents had been more open about it, and being honest with us about the difficulties that people have. And people just won't talk about difficulties that they may have, no matter what the disability is. I think that's a scary bit.
Yeah, I think that is in regular, when people go to regular mainstream schools now, because they're included in that, and that's great. But as you rightly say, there are certain situations that you need to know that information, because the school would have had that information. So the person's going to be no different in school than he is doing anything else. So to have that information. But yeah, that's why I always ask when I do regular alpine lessons, so anybody needs to tell me anything. If you do, just put your hand up if you don't want to say it in front of the group, and just come and have a quiet word, and we'll work the best way around it. Really.
Steve, I've got a question, but I saw Greg's hands gone up, so go for it, Greg. I'll go.
Yeah.
It was to do with, it's actually for you as well, James. Does Glencoe, or do ski resorts in general, Steve, do they offer some kind of discount on private lessons for people with disabilities, or specific lessons with disabilities? I know, and I can only reference the States because I've not worked in the UK. It's kind of law that you've got to give a 50% discount on.
Oh, really? Right.
On the adaptive lessons, which then encourages parents, like the problem that Cameron's talking about, where the main focus is normalisation, to get a half price full day private lesson, then encourages the parents to say, okay, well, if I come out with some reason that my kid has some kind of learning difference, or a reason for them not being in a normal class, which is what the parents are looking for doing, do we do the same here?
It's a brilliant idea.
Well,
I think.
Very briefly, I'll just say that on a practical end, we had a chat. I don't know, I can't remember exactly what scenario was. I think he had autism or Asperger's or something along those lines. And he came to us for 3 or 4 days in a row in the early season last winter. And we said, all right, if you're doing a few sessions, we'll give you a discount. I can't remember exactly what the price was. And in my last job as well, somebody said, well, so I work closely with a couple of caring organizations, and they buy like 10 sessions at once, so one session every week for 10 weeks in a row. And we go, all right, cool. Why don't we say we'll take this percentage off or whatever? But it wasn't it was, you know, a phone conversation, face-to-face discussion, as opposed to it's on the menu, you just pick off, you know, like adaptive discount, you know, 50% off or whatever, if you know, if you need additional support, if you buy multiple lessons in advance or whatever. It's very ad hoc. Certainly at Glencoe, you know, just on a practical note, next winter we're hoping that the new chair will be finished, which makes it massively more practical for people with physical adaptive needs, because you're not having to either push yourself or be pulled, or a combination of both, up the sort of from the access chair to the Corrie Pollock area. You'll be able to get up the new Rankin chair to a perfect learning area. Well, nothing's perfect, but you know what I mean. So that's just very briefly my end of things. We go for Steve.
Yes, so Greg, yeah, as a charity, we subsidise our lessons. So private lessons, because a lot of our stuff is one-to-one because of the needs of the people. So they're heavily subsidised. We apply for subsidies to different bodies and that, and apply those to lessons. We apply those to lessons for members, so they join DSUK, and then that entitles them to subsidised lessons. And basically, we are setting up doing group lessons, so we're throwing the onus of that onto the snow sports school managers. So we'll try and that'll further make it a more affordable cost for some people. They'll have to have a private lesson first, and then the managers will then select who would work with, be able to who would work with well in a group situation, and if they could be sort of matched in ability to some degree. That, you know, that would work better as they get a bit further along the chain, but it could work with beginners as well, dependent on what their personal requirements are. But yeah, we subsidise all our lessons. Probably, you know, group lessons in indoor centres can be as cheap as they want, unfortunately, because in the summer periods they're going to heavily reduce them. So we still have to pay costs in each individual snow centre. We still have to pay for our person on the slope. But if they get to a level where they are riding, they can generally take a carer to support on a lot of the slopes for free. So they're going to pay for one person effectively.
Thanks, Steve. I was just thinking, from my experience, I've worked at 2 plastic slopes, Snowdome, and then a few ski resorts. I've been around the block, and I think the UK has an interesting scenario compared to a large-scale ski resort, where quite often we'll be the first port of call for people. So say, for example, you know, both people that don't have a disability and people that do, they want to sort of try before they buy kind of scenario. They're thinking of doing, you know, proper skiing, as some people call it. You know, if it's not on a giant mountain, it doesn't count. And they prepare before they go. And especially with the costs involved with the sort of stereotypical holiday ski, and you're not 100% sure whether, say you're a parent with a child that's disabled in some shape or form, you don't want to go there and find out they don't actually like it or something like that. And it's especially true, you know, if you've got some cognitive adaptive needs, perhaps all the extra, you know, the travel, the equipment, the strangeness of it can be really off-putting. So plastic slopes and snowdomes especially, I found a disproportionate percentage of customers with adaptive needs come into the facility because they could just give it a go. And especially the plastic slopes, the price is much lower, so you know, like, just give it a try. But you know, what's the worst that could happen? And you know, you've got that kind of scenario where you've got that increased demand, but not necessarily staff that have encountered disabilities either in their general life or in particular in a ski or snowboard lesson before. Do you find that DSUK is kind of like, is that kind of where you're aiming to fit in, is to, go between that demand and the sort of the supply is, the body is willing, but there's no experience, and they're kind of having to make up as they go kind of thing?
I think people come along and they buy into the lessons and get the bug for it after we've had tasters or whatever we want to call them, and taken on a series of lessons and improved and seen the benefit to them, just the smile on the face or whatever, an achievement's achievement when you're skiing 10 meters or down a couloir, it's still an achievement. They see the benefit of that, and then it gives them the confidence to, as like James said, be able to take the steps that are expensive steps to going on a holiday, and that's why we run our holidays. But in the resorts, lift passes are cheaper for people with disabilities. They get a different rate. And it varies from resort to resort. So there's no one given rule, but they always get a great deal, really. But they might get a free carer pass as well. So yeah, super deals if they pay full price, but the carer's got to be on the slope with them. They'll get a support worker pass for nothing, or a very little small cost. But that's resort to resort. But it all works out about the same, really, overall, from the resorts I've been in. Yeah, they all just use different calculations, but seem to come up with a very similar thing.
Yeah.
Can I ask about work with other disability sports?
Yeah. Do we work with other disability sports?
Yeah, so just generally, yeah, like sort of thinking about off snow, keeping the fitness, sort of would maybe describe it as cross training. For instance, looking at wheelchair basketball would be an example, or adaptive biking. I'm not actually sure how common that is. I'm just aware of Martin Ashton doing that, but sort of tying in with other.
Yeah, we have been looking at trying to do other things. Certainly, if we're going to end up with more Scottish holidays or short breaks, that we intend to do Scotland. So we're looking at, there's got to be something else there, whether that be mountain biking, whether that be curling, whether, there's lots of great bikes out there as well that, are sort of like a sit ski, so you'd have your pilot behind, and you'd probably see him, you're probably into biking from that comment anyway. And we are looking at setting up some fitness things online, because recently we've done a lot of member engagement over this last 12 months on Zoom. Had various people do different talks, and we got all the members and asked them what they want, and yeah, so out of that we're going to be doing some sports training online. We're going to be looking at other things. We were looking at doing different types of short breaks anyway, over 12 months ago, and that got curtailed from about this time last year. So everything's sort of gone on hold there. But I think, you're dead right. It's got to be links with other sports. We do link with other organisations and other charities as well. We've linked with the RFU, Help for Heroes, Blesma, Blind Veterans, you name it. We've worked with quite a lot of other organisations. I do think if we're doing stuff in Scotland, we should be doing other things as well. So you're looking forward to your break, and the snow's not there, or the mountains shut down. I think, we've got to have that fallback plan as well, and have people qualified in being able to guide somebody around on a mountain bike. I'll find the other organisations that can do that. we're looking at those things as well.
Cool.
So we want to keep the fun there for the people. It's about fun, snow sports.
Definitely. Go for it, Peter. Yeah.
Oh yeah, hi. I've been doing a couple of online sessions because I don't currently do anything with disabled in any aspect at all so far. But I've been doing a couple of online things with Charlie Lane.
Yeah, no, Charlie, very well.
And I thought you probably would do. And so, I've got some information, background information on what's involved and so on and so forth. So I'm looking at when they might be restarting. I mean, Hemmel's going to be in my nearest one anyway, as an indoor snow centre. Do we know when they're likely to start doing stuff again? I mean, obviously, it's very much dependent upon the roadmaps that are out there. And I know the slopes are opening or starting to open next week, I think it is.
Yeah,
the 12th.
Basically, I've scheduled some courses throughout the year. I've not got them in front of me, but
Okay.
I did have an email off Daisy can do, because they use our equipment in sort of Hemel, Tamworth, Manchester, and Braehead. So, and if you're doing courses in Hemel, it'll definitely be Charlie that's, I would imagine, doing them. She's based near there anyway.
Yeah, I know. So she was saying.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you can't do the ones out on the mountain somewhere or other. So it sounds as though either getting some experience with DSUK, doing a session there, not necessarily a course like somebody like Charlie or Basie might do, but getting some background stuff before we do the course type of thing.
So we're also looking at setting, we have membership, and we've had membership for our clients. We're also looking at different levels of membership that would then entitle you for us to run some awareness training and do some awareness sessions with people. And that will help volunteers that come along as well, because obviously we look for volunteers that help us and support. Are you close to Hemel?
Well, within an hour's drive.
Right. Okay.
Around the sunny M25. Right,
lovely. Yes, so we run out of the Sandown and Hemel as well. So if you're interested, just ping me an email and I can pass it on to James at Hemel. If you're interested in volunteering or anything like that, you're more than welcome.
I'm hoping, I say, to supplement my current Alpine qualifications that I've got. Like I think you said that it was going in as a second discipline, which is exactly what I'm looking at now being able to do.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think it's a good second discipline in many ways, because you're not having to learn something else. You can already ski, or you can already board. You're only learning the knowledge of the disability, or really how to talk to people and get the red flags from them. The things that are going to make your lesson go really unwell. Because obviously people with catheters and things like that, you don't want to be tightening straps around and blocking the catheters and putting them into an ABS situation and all those things. So learning those flags and learning to ask the questions correctly and all the information you want, and dealing with those things to keep people safe, basically, to get the right information out of them, so you can give them a great lesson without any hiccups.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they're already, we don't want to injure them any more than what they're already injured.
Cool, thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Brilliant, thanks, Steve. And I'm just going to pepper you with a few fairly short answer questions. So,
not like you.
If somebody wanted to do a DSUK level 1, level 2 course, would you recommend that they would go to a local facility that does adaptive lessons and maybe shadow a lesson first before they consider doing a week-long course? Something like that would be advisable.
DSUK don't qualify people, but we can do training. As I mentioned, this professional membership.
Through Basie.
But get on, be volunteers there by all means, and join DSUK and go down with setting up the professional membership that then we're going to run courses. We are looking at running training, awareness training, that we're going to call it. So it'll help you. We've been working lots on logbooks over this period of time, that we're trying to get the right skills and train you and look for the right outcomes from it. So it'll give people some good foundations to when they go into the courses, because I know, talking to people like Charlie and that, who, so I go, put my brain into talking to people like Charlie. The biggest things that happen on the basic courses, people go onto the adaptive course and they'll waste half the week trying to get them to handle the 6 which takes a bit of effort, but we'll have already taken that stuff like that out of the equation. So you go onto your course and all you're doing is you know how to use that, you know what it looks like, you know how to skate down the hill. You just then refining from how the trainer wants you to do things, which is a better place to be in.
Yeah,
really.
I mean, that's really what I was sort of thinking about. You've got your volunteer side of people, and you've got maybe your qualified instructors in adaptive, and maybe they can go straight into a course, but there's somewhere there's a gap there, and I think that's what you're talking about, trying to fill that gap.
Precisely, I think it's a big missed area. It needs to be fitted in there. I was quite lucky, because when I did it, we had a bit of adaptive equipment in the ski school I worked at in Austria. So before I went on the basic course, because I could actually teach it with me Austrian qualification, even though I didn't have a Scooby. So it's quite interesting, really, that. But we had equipment there. I was able to take it out, and we had a trainer out for a season anyway, coming work for us. So a basic trainer at that. So it just gave me a whole different. I went into the course without any worries, really. But that's a lie. But you do have worries because you're on a course. But having the confidence that there was going to be no hiccups along the way. And that's what we're going to try and fill, that gap, so people doing courses in the UK can be able to go onto the course with a day's or 2 days knowledge. If they volunteer, they'll get more knowledge as well.
Good preparation. And if people want to keep track of that kilt walk and the marathon, did you say it was down in London?
It's go onto our website.
Yeah.
On all the news and events are up there. If people sometimes do their own thing, like running backwards. I don't know for how far, but whatever.
Running backwards for Christmas, right? Yeah,
exactly. All sorts of crazy stuff, just to raise money, which is always very useful.
Very much so.
We're not a big charity by any means.
Well, certainly feel free to, I'll maybe have a conversation with you. I'll ping you an email shortly, and I'll get the details of those 2 fundraising events and pop them to the Snow School.
I'll ping you some links over, James.
Yeah.
And then you can get out to the guys. It's fine.
Unless anyone else has some burning questions, I'd just like to say thank you very much to Steve for the session. And, going forward, I think, I very much assume that everyone in this session is hoping to develop a bit more on the adaptive front, and I think we've got some clear ways about going about doing that, especially in the UK. I'm quite excited about what might be possible next winter at Glencoe, with fingers crossed a new building and a new chairlift, which the new building should be much more accessible, and the new chairlift is infinitely more accessible than the Plateau Palma. So that's going to be a bit of a game changer on the adaptive side. And hopefully we can do some DSUK recce's in the early season.
Without a doubt.
Just the practicalities of the gap you need to tip your skis to get in the off ramp of the chairlift and stuff like that. But we'll figure it out in practice. So I'm just going to hit stop on the recording just now.